Hello again. In this video, I will be demonstrating the specific characters that have actually been affected by the tomato bug. We will start with Princess Peach, going to a random Omega stage. And originally what I thought was that only items that could be picked up or held and then thrown were affected. And so pulling a turnip here as Peach, every turnip you pull appears as a tomato. Toad is just fine. None of her other items or moves are affected. Her parasol is a regular parasol and not a tomato. It is only the turnips that are affected. That theory was reinforced a bit more as we went down through more of the characters. Taking a look here at Bowser Jr., we will load him up. And while the game is loading, I want to clarify, a lot of people were saying that they thought that Luma would spawn as a tomato, or that the star bits she shot would be tomatoes, that Yoshi's eggs would be tomatoes. And as I was saying before, it seems to be mainly items that can be picked up. So we'll go and shoot a cannonball as Bowser Jr., and that works just fine. His fork is not a tomato. His car is not a tomato. But when we release a Mecha Koopa, there's a little tomato half buried running around in the ground there, because the Mecha Koopas can be picked up and thrown. Go ahead, go on to some more characters here. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. There we go. Attempting this with Wario. I was really interested to see how his bike was going to work. And I was not disappointed. So here we see the bike works just as you'd expect it to. However, if you can notice there, once it falls off the stage, or once it falls, it becomes a tomato. This is where you can pick it up, and it's still very heavy. He kind of has his heavy stance when carrying it. When you break it, it shatters into a whole bunch of little tomato pieces. So here we go again. We'll go ahead and break the bike. Oh, just toss it off a cliff by mistake. And there we go. It just explodes into a whole bunch of different tomatoes. Game & Watch's bacon that he flips does not turn into tomatoes. None of his other items do. We'll go ahead and move next into Diddy Kong. And Diddy Kong is what kind of disproved that original theory that it was only the items that could be picked up. Because just as this little infographic is showing here, his banana peel does spawn as a tomato. Even he's confused. He has no clue what's going on. However, his peanut pop gun is now a tomato pop gun. And to my knowledge, the peanuts cannot be picked up. So that was definitely a little bit strange. That made me want to go to a character that was more projectile-based. So we'll go ahead and take a look at Link here to see if any of his weapons appear as tomatoes. And so we start with the Hero's Bow, which, no tomatoes. The Boomerang, no tomatoes. But the bombs are tomatoes. And once again, those are items that can be caught or picked up and thrown. I went ahead and tested this with every single character, and all energy weapons do not appear as tomatoes. So, nothing from Samus. She doesn't have a charged tomato shot or anything like that. And although Sheik doesn't have any items that can be picked up and thrown, the grenades that they added to Sheik in this game do appear as tomatoes. Little black hole grenade tomatoes. The needles are just fine. Needles are just almost impossible to see needles. And so there really doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for why certain projectiles are and are not replaced by tomatoes. Diddy's Gordos, not replaced by tomatoes. None of Pitt's weaponry, none of Palutena's shots are replaced by tomatoes. One thing that is a little bit interesting here is when using Robin. Robin's Tomes and Levin Sword have a capacity before they run out, and when they do run out and are tossed in the air, they become tomatoes. So we'll go ahead and use a bunch of arc fire here. And as you can see, when he tossed the book in the air, it became a tomato. We'll try and use the Levin Sword as much as we can here. It's starting to flash, which means it's just about running out. And he tosses it in the air, and it's a tomato. None of Fox's projectiles. His G-diffuser that he uses to reflect doesn't do anything. None of Pikachu's Thunder. Nothing from Lucario, nothing from Jigglypuff. Now, Greninja doesn't actually have any specific attacks that cause the projectile. None of his water swords turn into tomatoes. His water shuriken do not become tomatoes. But with Greninja, one thing that is kind of interesting is that his substitute becomes a tomato. So there you go, instead of a little log or a little substitute doll, we had a tomato spawn. And just like the substitute log and doll, you cannot actually pick that up. Next up we have Duck Hunt Dog. Now I do not recall having tried Duck Hunt Dog. He might have been the very last character that I got. And I have to tell you, getting these characters was an ordeal. I ended up just setting it to a one-stock match with a 300% handicap so that I could do as much as I could. But trying to clear Classic Mode without any computers picking up Pokeballs or assist trophies is incredibly difficult. So we see here that Duck Hunt Dog's can still is a can. Looks like the Frisbee is still a Frisbee. That's good. And let's take a look here at the Gunmen. Gunmen are just fine as well. Okay. Another example that I won't actually show in the video, just some of the locations on the game here. The island from Animal Crossing, when the trees sprout fruit, all of the fruit has been replaced by tomatoes, but still acts normally. Next, we'll go ahead and show Rob. Rob's gyro has been affected. As he's charging it up, it still appears normal. When he first shoots it, it still appears normal. But once it actually hits the ground, that is when it turns into a tomato. And so there we have a little spinny, rotating tomato, which can be picked up and used as a weapon. Go ahead and select Wii Fit Trainer next. Now her Sun Salutation is not affected by this, but her Soccer Ball is, which reinforces that any energy-based weapons do not seem to turn into tomatoes, but physical ones, such as Diddy's Peanut, the grenade from Sheik, and Link's bombs, they all do turn into tomatoes. Olimar's Pikmin are still Pikmin. The Villager's Lloyd Rocket is just the same. Now, when you do spawn the tree and knock it down, the little block of wood is replaced by a tomato. Nothing from Ness is different. With Pac-Man, you can see in my previous videos, it appears that his standard special the fruit that he summons gets replaced by tomatoes, so it's almost impossible to tell exactly what fruit you're about to throw. So here we see tomato, 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 and you really just don't know exactly what you're about to throw. Another one that I found out, although his hydrant is just fine, his power pellet from his side special is actually replaced by a tomato. And the last character that has anything going on with them is Mega Man. Now, with Mega Man, I was really hoping for a lot more to be strange than actually is. It's just the Metal Blade, once again the only item that can actually be picked up. The Crash Bomb is just fine, the Hard Knuckle is just fine, but whenever he throws the Metal Blade, it is a tomato. And so that is all the characters that have been affected by the tomato glitch. As I said before, playing the game is a little bit tricky now, because if anybody in Classic or All-Star mode or even online were to pick up an item that was an assist trophy, a Master Ball, or a Pokeball, then that causes a problem. None of the Miis are affected in any way, but if we go into Home Run Contest or Target Blast, then at that point, things definitely are affected. And so we'll go ahead and hit this sandbag tomato over here if we can. Nope, couldn't even hit it. It's too low. The actual hitbox for sandbag has been replaced by the hitbox for the tomato. Let's go ahead and give this one more try. See if we can do something to it here. Yeah, can't even hit it with the home run bat. So that's certainly broken as far as playing the game with the glitch still there. The last thing that I am going to show you here is going to be Smash Run mode. This is something that I didn't even think about until I tried to farm more gold to attempt Classic mode. We'll go ahead and play as Shulk here. And the mode loads up just fine. All the enemies are there. Any items that they drop are replaced by tomatoes. But as you can see, that includes the power-ups themselves. So I will go ahead and just kind of run anywhere that I can here. There's typically some power-ups down here. And even those are replaced by tomatoes. Let's go ahead and find some big group of opponents to beat up here. It's very difficult to play this game when looking through the screen of a camera rather than looking at the screen of the 3DS itself. Let's go ahead and see if there's more over here for us, or if we might be able to find a treasure chest somewhere. And as you can see, there's little tomatoes just spawning wherever the power-up should be. And when you collect them, your stats do increase. It's impossible to tell which tomato corresponds to which stat boost. And it makes it difficult to tell if the item you're about to pick up is a trophy base, if it is a new power, if it is a wrench bag with a customization in it. It makes Smash Run really difficult to play effectively. And with that said, that's really everything that I wanted to show. If anyone has any ideas as to a way to fix this, other than resetting and reformatting everything, I may actually be sending this into Nintendo just to get it replaced. And for those of you with questions about the skin, I'll actually be providing a link in the video's description as to where you can purchase the skin for the 3DS. Thank you very much for watching.